Hello and welcome to my channel, everyone. Today, as I have previously mentioned, I'm going to review this little lock. The BR960 lock. The logo looks like Audi, just 3 rings instead of 4. The lock itself looks pretty cool. It looks quite beautiful. Here, it's nickel plated. The shank itself, or rather, the locking element is hardened, and there's an inscription that says it's hardened. The only thing is I don't know how it's counted correctly. So, as you can clearly observe, notice that this locking pin itself is kind of coppery in its overall appearance. Well, at least it has a copper color, the color of copper. So this is not rust. I don't know how this will look on video. Here, it's kind of coppery and on top it's chrome plated. Well, this lock doesn't rust. I think that's definitely the case. Here, so the profile of the key. This lock, just like in the first video, is meant for different purposes. At least these locks hang on payment terminals, so they are intended for various uses, but these locks are on payment terminals. So, we see, just like with the lock from the last video, after turning it, we engage the spring-loaded pin, this little thing. So, as you can see, until we close the lock, we can't pull the key out. We can only take the key out after closing this lock, or by pressing this thing. Now, just a second. Oops, I accidentally pressed it, and we see that the key is in place, and after that we can pull it out. Now let us go ahead and also test this lock. Will the ball go in or will it not? So if it goes in, then this element, which I don't know what it's called, will definitely pop out. So let's try it. Oh, and we see that it doesn't go in either, just like with the other lock. So that's already a good sign. Alright, so let's then close the lock and move on to opening it. We'll see how long this lock holds up and whether it's more reliable than the one we opened before. Now, let's close the lock and move on to opening it. So, let us together carefully and thoroughly examine the situation. We will determine if this particular lock is indeed more reliable than the one we opened before. Here. Which of the locks will best protect European money? Let's test it. So, we're going to test it, just like in the last video, for durability. Let's go ahead and give the wrench a try to see if it can help us fix the problem we are facing. We're using the same wrench. So, as you can see, the keyhole is behind the bridge. Let's pay careful and close attention to the lock's keyhole profile. Basically, it will be quite a bit easier for us to very carefully and extremely efficiently manipulate the lockpick here. We can freely and with precision maneuver this tool along the lock in a smooth manner without any difficulty. And by the way, it's a pretty thick lockpick. So basically we're probably going to use it to open the lock. Here, well, let's go. So, based on the key profile, if we compare the locks, the first lock was much more complex, in my opinion. So the profile is designed to make it harder to pick. Let's give it a try and see what we can do. Uh-huh. It feels like the pins are of different thicknesses, sizes, lengths, and dimensions. So we might take this lock apart later and check it out then. Just give me a quick second, please. If you don't mind, I'll be right with you. We absolutely need a different tool. It is absolutely essential and necessary. All right, so what we are going to do is take this particular kind of pick. And we see how the lock has opened. So, as you might expect, this particular lock ended up having a longer lifespan compared to the one that came before it. Now, let's go ahead and attempt to unlock it once more, using our skills and tools to see if we can successfully open it this time around, as they say, to rule out the possibility of coincidence. There's something interesting here with the pins. I'd like to take a look. Later, maybe. If I feel like it, I'll disassemble it. If it turns out to be interesting, I'll post the breakdown of this lock. Then maybe if I decide to, I'll take it apart. If it turns out to be interesting, I'll post a breakdown of this lock. Hey there. In honor of the picking, it's not just a lock. So I just need to play around with the tension a bit. Hit that. The last pin in the lock is quite intriguing. Typically, padlocks don't have precision-engineered pins. These are usually found in more advanced locking systems. So finding such a pin in a padlock is unexpected and noteworthy. Let's take a look. Let's loosen the tension to the minimum. All right. And after much consideration, we finally picked it carefully. So, the lock is finally picked. The lock itself is quite interesting. By the way, let's test it immediately just to be sure right away by combing it. Will combing work on these locks? That is, although combing does not mean that the lock is bad. Nevertheless, if suddenly, unexpectedly, in any case, the emergency workers try to hide such locks, it will be possible to at least roughly understand what tool to approach it with, or at least have an idea. Raking also requires somewhat certain skill, the ability to move, and sometimes even to feel the tension, and a bit of patience as well. Well, as we can see, I am attempting to close this small lock on my own. Initially, it appeared that we were unable to open it using the raking technique, which is a method often employed in lockpicking. However, after a few more attempts and a bit of persistence, we surprisingly managed to successfully open the lock with the raking method. This unexpected success was quite satisfying, as it demonstrated the effectiveness of the technique when applied correctly. So in conclusion, yes, we did manage to open it with raking. We simply opened it with raking as well. Here in this particular context or situation, it just gave in to raking. Although I can say as a last resort, it still gave in eventually. Let's try to pick it one more time with raking, carefully. If anyone's interested, the most resilient ones might remain, standing strong. I just promised someone I'd do a review, so I want the review to be thorough and comprehensive. In general, it's not working out. As expected. Ultimately, indeed, especially, undoubtedly. Second time, and I thought it would be faster. Well, so we're manipulating it in different ways, as you can see. Raking is a technique that opens locks quickly, allowing you to hit multiple pins at once. So picking with raking usually happens faster, but not in every case. In this instance, we saw that even when we used picks, it didn't go quickly either, so nothing's happening. In general, we picked it once with raking. If there were several locks, of course, we could compare them. One lock might yield to raking or picking with tools, while other locks could be much harder to pick or might not yield at all. Although I don't think there will be a lock that won't yield at all, still. So, nothing's happening. In general, we picked it once with raking. If there were several locks, of course, we could compare them. One lock might yield to raking or picking with tools, while other locks could be much harder to pick or might not yield at all. Although I don't think there will be a lock that won't yield at all still. So it's clear that this little lock is definitely better. While I don't believe there exists a lock that is completely unbreakable or impervious to all attempts at unlocking, it is important to note that this particular small lock offers a higher level of security and reliability compared to many others. Therefore, it stands out as a superior choice for those seeking enhanced protection. This little lock, an Audi 3-ring lock, is, let's say, better than that one. Well, at least we are definitely taking a bit longer to carefully pick it. Here, although it is significantly easier to maneuver into the keyhole compared to the lock we previously picked, there is still a need to be cautious. Take a moment to observe this closely. Notice how the keyhole is designed and how it functions. This is crucial for understanding the mechanism. So here, for example, it's flat, and we can easily manipulate it. And here, it's all bent, so if we insert the pick into the upper part, we can't manipulate the pick from the top. Getting it into the middle is quite tricky, because it requires precision and a steady hand. So, with a special pick, which is narrower and designed specifically for this purpose, it allows for more control and accuracy, making the task easier. So, that's the difference in the profiles, where one is more suited for intricate work, and this little lock, in my opinion, turned out to be better due to its enhanced security features and ease of use, which makes it a preferred choice for many users. Here, that's why you can hang them. In dark alleys, for example. For instance, let us say. That is, in any case, all the locks can be opened. That is, no matter what they are, it's merely a matter of time and desire. So, in conclusion, that's how it is. Alright, I'm wrapping up this video. If you found it useful and interesting, give it a like. Subscribe to the channel. All the best.